Already that week, Red Hollow seemed quieter than usual. It wasn't the usual silence of the desert, nor of streets already accustomed to dust and wind. It was a different silence, heavy, filled with hidden whispers. I listened in the half-open doors, in the nearly empty saloons, in the poorly recited prayers inside the church. Everyone was talking about the same thing, a giant black dog that always appeared at nightfall, standing before the cemetery gate at first. I thought it was just another legend invented by the tavern's drunks, like so many others that have spread through these lands. But when the same tales began to come from sober men, from women who had never spoken a word, and even from children, I began to understand there was something there that couldn't be ignored. They said the dog didn't bark, didn't advance, didn't chase anyone. It just appeared, silently, its red eyes like a burning coal in the darkness, fixed on anyone who dared approach the iron gates. A traveler recounted that, as he tried to cross the gate, his chest felt as if he had plunged into a frozen river. The animal didn't bite him, but stood before him, motionless, breathing deeply, its breath like smoke rising from hell. The man ran back and has spoken nothing since, only mumbling prayers. Others swear the dog disappears when anyone tries to touch it, vanishing like a shadow in the night. But they all say the same thing. It always returns the next night, in the same place. Little by little, no one dared pass by the cemetery after dark. Burials began to take place before sunset, and even priests avoided ringing the bell at night, as if not wanting to draw attention to the place. Conversations in town no longer revolved around harvests, travel, or business. Everything revolved around the dog. It's the guardian of the graves. Some would say, no, it's the devil himself in disguise. Others would retort. But everyone, without exception, lowered their voices when the subject came up, as if afraid the animal itself would overhear them. I listened silently, leaning against the saloon counter, my whiskey glass sweating in my hand, by a badge burned on my chest, not like a live cold, but like cold iron. And I knew that sooner or later, the silence of others would become a summons for me. In Red Hollow, when no one dares to stand up to anyone, the sheriff always falls to him, even if that sheriff is already damned by his own curse. It wasn't long before the stories grew closer, more intimate. They weren't just rumors from weary travelers or talkative drunks. They were neighbors, people I knew by name, who trembled as they recounted what they'd seen. And they all described the same scene. The dog appeared out of nowhere, boughs if molded by the darkness itself, blocking the way to the cemetery gate. He didn't lunge, didn't bite, didn't growl like a common animal. He stood still, steady, his breathing slow, coming in cold clouds even on the hottest desert nights. His eyes were red, fixed, like glowing coals sunk into black sockets. One look was enough to drain any man's courage. A farmer named Jacob came to me. He said he needed to bury his wife, who had died of a fever. But when he tried to enter the cemetery, the dog was already there. Sheriff, he told me, tears in his eyes and a choked voice. The animal didn't move, but it also wouldn't let me pass. I stood there, staring into those eyes, and it was as if I were facing judgment itself. I knew if I took one more step, I would never return. Jacob buried his wife outside the gates, under an old oak tree, and since then, he swears he hears the dog howling every night, as if guarding the wrong grave. Another story came to me from a traveler crossing the desert. He said that, as he approached the gate, the dog silently appeared, blocking the way. The man tried to go around it, but the creature always loomed ahead, like a shadow that wouldn't let go of its skin. He gave up, returned to the road, and vowed never to pass through Red Hollow again. The stories began to vary, but all with the same weight. Some said the dog was the guardian of the graves, placed there to protect the dead and keep the living from eternal sleep. Others swore it was no guardian at all, but the Lord himself, devil in disguise, stalking the souls of those who dared disturb the sacred land. And there were even those who believed that each look of the dog marked a destiny if he set his eyes on you. It was only a matter of time before you were summoned underground. The rumors spread, growing like a plague. The town began to avoid the cemetery altogether. Burials were made in makeshift graves in the desert because no one dared to cross the gates after dark. Even the priests, men who swore unshakable faith, backed away. One of them told me, in a low voice, that he would never return to the cemetery while that hellhound guarded the gates. I listened to each story with a heavy heart. My curse doesn't allow me to doubt. Is what seems like superstition to many is always a premonition to me. And within my chest, the badge burned as a reminder, because I knew that what stalked Red Hollow wasn't just a shadow or a fable. It was real, and it was waiting. There comes a time when the city whispers so much that the whisper becomes an order. I put on my coat, checked my ammunition out of habit, though I know that in Red Hollow, gunpowder rarely works. San followed the road to the cemetery. The wind came in from the desert, bringing that smell of damp iron that precedes the worst nights. The swollen moon hung low in the sky like a tired eye. Each step made the sand complain beneath my boots, and with each step, my curse vibrated more. An electric hum beneath my skin, rising from my sternum to my neck. When I saw the iron gate, I felt my badge heat up like a hot coal pressed against my flesh. It wasn't a warning, it was recognition. He was there. A huge black dog stood in the center of the arch, taking up the entire path as if it were the gate itself. It didn't growl. It didn't move its tail. It just stared at me. Its eyes, like glowing coals, didn't blink. Its breath came in jets of steam, slow, ancient, as if each exhalation had endured a winter. Its coat shone faintly, not the shine of a healthy animal, but the dullness of wet coal. My steps stopped on their own, a few meters away. The curse within my chest changed rhythm, beating precisely in time with the animal's breath, as if trying to keep up. And I understood. It sensed me. It smelled what I carry. It saw beyond what a man has to show. I have not come to disturb the dead, I said. just to test if my voice still obeyed me. The dog tilted its head slightly. The tip of one ear twitched. Its eyes never left me. I've been in the presence of bad people, of things worse than people, of ghosts that speak with the voices of those we love. But that creature didn't ask for a stage, didn't compete with fear. It was fear distilled into presence. The badge burned brighter. When I touched the star, I felt my skin stick to the metal. There was a low crack, like old wire giving way, and the gate creaked. No one had pushed it. Butte, it creaked, as if waking up. The dog took a step slowly, and the ground seemed to give way under its weight. Its claws marked the earth with deep grooves, for streaks that smoked for a second, as if the sand itself remembered having once been lava. My body responded before my head could tell me to. I rested my hand on the holster. The dog ignored the gun. It raised its snout, sniffed the wind, and aimed again at my chest. Not my face, not my hand, the center of me. Because for a moment I heard the church bells swear I heard them. Based tolls like the dead. I turned my face. The tower didn't move. When I looked back, the dog was closer. 2 steps I hadn't witnessed. There was no sound, only the certainty that the space between us had diminished. His breath reached me, cold and ancient, like the dampness of a crypt. If he's a guard, what's his guard? I asked if he's an executioner who's nothing, not a growl, not a howl. The silence answered for him, thick as wet sand. And yet there was a message. You are not coming in. Not today. Maybe never. In the red glow of those eyes, I saw reflections that weren't mine-crooked crosses, erased names, broken promises. My curse, which rarely protects me, erected a wall between my will and my feet. I felt the urge to move forward, and the counterbalance of something telling me that moving forward would cost me my soul. The dog sensed the conflict. The corner of its nose vibrated in an almost growl, not a threat, but a warning of a closed road. The wind turned. The dry grass danced in a brief whirlwind and died. The gate creaked again, and the iron groaned, as if remembering pain. Put my hand to my Hatton old gesture of respect for those who sleep, and lowered my gaze, not as if yielding, but as if acknowledging another's jurisdiction. I see, I said, feeling the star pulse. You see me inside. I see you too. The dog's head lowered slightly, as if in assent. Then it rose again, pinning me to the ground with its eyes. There was no brawny struggle, no powder duel. It was an ancient recognition, the guardian measuring the sinner, the bearer of the mark weighing the mark of the other. Over the fence, the shadows of the tombstones stretched like long fingers, and for a moment I had the impression, just the impression, God willing that a hand of earth had touched the edge of my boot. I took a step back. The badge cooled a degree. I took another. The dog didn't follow. It simply returned to its original spot, centered in the arch, filling the world. The gate stopped creaking. The stars seemed to twinkle more. I breathed, and I knew that night, the city would remain intact, because I hadn't forced my way through. I turned my back, but didn't offer a kiss. I walked sideways until I reached the road. Every 10 steps, he looked back. The dog never disappeared. He remained there, like a sentence. When the distance allowed me to hear the noise of the houses again, I realized my curse had stopped. Not out of relief, but out of respect. Red Hollow breathed a sigh of relief that night, as if the weight on the city had been lifted for a moment. Dubai knew the truth. The dog hadn't left, which was just waiting for me. The promise had already been made, and when my time is up, there will be no escape. The gate will open not by the creak of iron, but by the call of that beast carrying the smell of hell in its lungs. And I, Elias Blackthorn, no, I will not die like the others. My entrance to the cemetery already has a guardian waiting. And if you've stuck around this far, tell me in the comments, what do you think that dog really is? Guardian or executioner? I want to hear from you. Leave a like if this story sent a chill down your spine. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next curses of the Wild West. And don't forget to click on the next video, which is already on screen, before the night also covers your soul.